Greetings, NISCA Theater Program applicants for fiscal year 21.
We are the theater program staff.
I'm Kathleen Masterson, Program Director.
And I'm Deborah Lim, Program Officer. The recording that follows outlines the guidelines for applications for funding for FY21. That is, for work to be completed within the contract period running January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2021. The application period for FY21 opens on January 28, 2020 and closes on Thursday, March 12, 2020 at 4 p.m.
That's 4 p.m. on March 12th, not 5 p.m., not midnight, and certainly not the day after. No exceptions will be made to missed deadlines. You're welcome to consult with us by email or phone throughout the application period this year, but we ask that you try to submit your questions 10 days before the deadline so we may be sure to have time to respond. 10 days before the deadline is Monday, March 2nd.
And we recommend that you complete and submit your application and support materials at least a week before the March 12th deadline to avoid glitches. Also, remember that you must submit all overdue NISCA final reports if you are eligible to apply to NISCA for FY21. The reporting deadline for FY19 contracts is February 28, 2020. And you must be pre-qualified in the Grants Gateway portal by the March 12th deadline. NISCA recommends that applicants start the Grants Gateway process as soon as possible and complete pre-qualification well in advance of the application deadline. NISCA and Grants Gateway cannot guarantee that any issues in a last-minute submission can be resolved by the deadline. As a rule of thumb, NISCA and Grants Gateway are not likely to review or resolve any issues by application and due date in any document vault submitted after 4 p.m. on March 5th, 2020. As was the case last year, there is no registration required on the NISCA website, and your applications should be submitted on the state's Consolidated Funding Application platform. That's the NISCA/CFA platform.
Now a bit about what we do. In fiscal year 20, the theater program supported 194 organizations around the state for a total of $2.95 million. The theater program offers support to professional theater companies with ongoing production and play development programs. By professional, we mean companies that produce to professional standards and that pay artists. Companies must offer performances that are open to the public of New York State and promoted as such. We also fund theater service organizations that build administrative and institutional skills, provide information resources, assist in the professional development of artists, and enhance access to theater for all audiences.
Funded applications reflect the full range of theatrical expression. Traditional forms, classical, contemporary, and musical theater, and experimentation that crosses disciplinary boundaries, as well as proposals that are creative and experimental in their use of new technology, are all welcome, provided theater is a central focus. NISCA encourages work that reaches underserved audiences and constituencies, activities that provide opportunities for diverse artists and administrators, and imaginative approaches to theater for young audiences.
Before you write your application, please read the guidelines at arts.ny.gov. Read them carefully to determine if you meet the eligibility requirements in a specific category of support. We'll discuss the categories in a moment. If you are in doubt, please call us before selecting a category and writing the application. Alas, we can't read or comment upon your draft applications.
Now we'll briefly outline the categories of support and fundable expenses, required questions, and required support materials in the theater program.
Please take note that each category requires applicants to answer general questions, theater program specific questions, and category specific questions. The same holds true for support materials. Each category requires applicants to submit both standard support materials and category specific support materials.
General operating support. General operating support, or GOS, is unrestricted support for activities in New York State. Only one GOS request is allowed across all NISCA programs. Organizations that apply for GOS in theater may not submit another application in the theater program unless invited by the council to do so in the Regrants Partnerships category. They may make one other request council-wide for a total of 2 requests. Categories that are exempt from the 2 request limit are noted in the guidelines. GOS represents seasonal rather than project support. The mission of the applicant organization must be the creation, production, or support of the professional theater in New York State. They must be paid W-2 staff, not 1099. GOS applicants are held to a higher standard of managerial and fiscal competence than applicants in the project support categories. Producing organizations applying in this category are expected to meet and generally to exceed the basic prerequisites of the professional performances category. Sponsored projects are not eligible to apply for general operating support.
Now there are two project support categories. First, professional performances. Eligible expenses include artist fees and production expenses. See the guidelines for an overview of the category. Prerequisites. In the professional performances category, the company must have produced for 2 seasons before applying for support. The company must stage at least 1 public production per year. Companies creating new works must offer at least 1 public showing in the developmental year. The company must have an artistic director, and applicants must be able to demonstrate in their budgets a consistent policy of paying artistic personnel, including actors. Actors should be paid according to or above union agreements or fair local standards. Professional performances is the only category in the theater program in which fiscally sponsored projects may apply. Applicants using fiscal sponsors must fill out the sponsored request form and submit it along with their support materials to their sponsor for upload.
The second project category is services to the field. Eligible expenses include artist stipends, base subsidies, publication support, professional development support, etc. The prerequisites in services to the field include the fact that applicants must be able to document a history of providing services to the theater field of New York State. Services to the field offers support for service organizations and for activities that provide managerial, artistic, or information services to individual theater artists and/or organizations. Services may include publications, professional development, managerial support, information resources, subsidized space, and initiatives extending beyond the scope of an individual organization's general programming. New applicants to this category must contact NISCA staff before submitting a request. Sponsor requests are not eligible for support in this category.
And finally, there is one invitational category, regrants and partnerships. Eligible expenses include technical assistance and regrant funds, planning grants, etc. Application in this category is by invitation from the council only. Regrants and partnerships projects must have a significant field-wide or statewide impact, and sponsored projects may not apply in this category. Now, here are some tips on your narrative questions and support materials. Please pay special attention to your answers to the changes and challenges question to outline any financial or administrative issues your organization faces, as well as how you plan to address them, and to highlight any important new developments. Evidence of equity, diversity, and inclusion should be included in your application in terms of staffing, board membership, and audience demographic, as well as in choices of designers, directors, writers, and performers. Remember to include services to citizens with disabilities in your discussion.
Evaluation and assessment forms or related materials such as audience surveys are especially important in services to the field and regrants/partnerships. So we encourage you to submit them for all categories to demonstrate how you set and assess your organization's goals and progress. Include results of public surveys as well as sample forms. Pay special attention to the project budget. Make clear in the expenses portion of the project budget how the NISCA request amount will be spent. We're especially concerned with artist fees, so be sure to place these amounts in the outside artistic fees and services line. We also look closely at the marketing line to determine the extent of your outreach to the public. Provide detail on how you will spend the NISCA request amount in the budget notes section of the project budget, and include a breakout of artist fees shown in the expense line of the budget. Also on the project budget, it is best not to show a surplus after your NISCA request. Please use the project budget notes section to detail significant sources of income and remaining operating expenses. Explain discrepancies of more than 20% over previous years that show up on your organizational budget using the organizational budget notes. Thorough budget notes contribute to an impressive application.
Some notes on the video requirement for general operating support and professional performances applicants. We require video documentation of past performances or workshops. Work from the most recent season is best. A simple video of a live performance or rehearsal is preferred to heavily edited promotional footage, though you may submit such footage as additional support material. The video clip is an essential part of the review process and is viewed by the panel before the discussion begins, thus giving the first impression of your company's work in a panel discussion. The idea is to give panelists who have not seen your work a clear sense of the style and context of your company's artistic approach and of the type of work for which you are seeking support. Panels view no more than 3 minutes of video, so please indicate clearly which portion of a longer sample should be viewed first. Note what phase of the project the sample represents, such as 5th week of 2-month developmental workshop, dress rehearsal, etc., as well as a paragraph describing the work sample you are submitting. An interpretive paragraph is especially helpful for non-traditional work. Videos with passwords, expiration dates, or other restrictions on access may not be viewed. If you are not submitting a clip of an actual performance or rehearsal, please explain why in an attached Word document. Some theaters have submitted videos featuring the artistic director, directors discussing the company's work in the season to come, perhaps showing the theater's face, etc. Combined with still photos from last season's performances, such videos can be acceptable alternatives for those theaters unable to provide videos due to union restrictions or other impediments. Actors Equity Association has a variety of contracts and codes with varying recording allowances. To ensure you are in compliance with any equity agreement you may have, or if needed to request a recording agreement, please contact Actors Equity's media department directly at media@actorsequity.org. Be sure to mention that you will be using the clip for support of your NISCA grant application.
If you decide not to apply to NISCA for FY21, you may be eligible to apply later in the year to the NISCA Art New York Creative Opportunity Fund at the Alliance of Resident Theaters. This regrant opportunity supports simplified applications in both the creation and infrastructure development areas of the work of companies with budgets under $500,000. Art New York also offers extensive technical assistance programs to theater companies and tiered membership costs. Regrant recipients receive a year's free membership to Art New York. Another alternative is to apply for local arts funding through the decentralization site serving your county. You can find this information on the NISCA website. NISCA-funded applicants may receive no charge technical assistance from the New York Council on Nonprofits. Nonprofit organizations that are not recipients of direct NISCA funding are eligible to become members of NICON at reasonable costs based upon budget size. Organizations and/or individuals requesting support for theater artist commissions should refer to the Individual Artist Program guidelines on the NISCA website.
See slide 7 of this presentation for some tips and a link to the consolidated funding application, where you'll be answering the application questions and submitting support materials. Now consider as you write your grant that panelists and council members come from across the state and rotate on and off, so they may not be familiar with your organization. Don't assume they know your work. Approach your answers to the narrative questions with freshness, clarity, and brevity, so that readers of your application will understand quickly both the intention and the specifics underlying the activity for which you are requesting funding in fiscal year 21. Express the uniqueness and heart behind your organization's mission and achievements without grandstanding or self-praise, just the facts and the passion. And last but not least, please spell check and proofread your application.
And then have someone who has not written the application read it for sense, just as the panel will. We look forward to learning about your work and to sharing it with the panel and council. And we send you best wishes for a great artistic year and decade.
Finally, please accept our gratitude and admiration for all you do to make New York a great theater state. Thank you.